What you got, buddy? Work with me.
I got a couple of things I'd like to ask you about.
Sling it. What you want to know?
How'd you get here?
Grew up milking cows. Predominant farm community.
Yeah.
North of Mecklenburg. So I was north of the city, north of Charlotte. And it was all predominantly dairy farms back then. So grew up milking cows. Everybody in the community was in the volunteer fire department. So about 13, 14 years old, somebody said, "Hey, retard, you look like you would be a good asset. So come on down here." And I walked in the door, put on some black cotton duck fire coat with some flannel lining in it and a plastic fire helmet. And I was hooked. Hook, line, and sinker.
Nice.
So, and I never looked back. I've been that ever since.
So a teenager, young teenager.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, what was it? The house is on fire?
Adrenaline. Yeah, it was adrenaline. I mean, it was, I was dumb enough to do it, and I was fortunate because you don't realize it when you're a kid. I was surrounded with a bunch of rock stars and didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they saw something in me, and they brought me in there, and they started grooming me for, bigger and better things. And they did a good job. Everybody that brought me on the fire department wound up either at Charlotte, an officer at Charlotte, a chief at Charlotte, the Mecklenburg County fire marshal. I mean, all these guys in my youth that I had no idea,
Yeah.
They were like, "Come on, kid." And
so in that stew that was brewed up with you in it, there was enough luck that you just happened to be around these people.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I'll take luck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Never been good anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trust me, I was lucky.
Yeah.
So,
Man, that's outstanding. I feel lucky. I was talking to Trevor recently about when Brandon asked me and Ethan to come on for that one day. He gave us no promises. You guys, I guess, needed a little manpower to move some pallets around or something. And so we felt super lucky. We didn't know that we were coming out for any other reason. It was just hey, can you come help out a little bit? So that was big for me. I feel lucky. I feel honored to have been able to participate.
The band, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and couldn't ask for a better group of guys.
Yep. It's fun being surrounded by
Good people.
good people.
And it doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what department shirt you wear. Good people.
Mm-hmm.
Good firemen. Good people.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
You ever seen that this guy talk to the Navy SEALs? What's his name? He does TED Talks all the time. I'll remember his name in a second. But he asked the Navy SEALs, how do you pick your people that are a part of the group? And they explained to him this scale of performing, you're a high performer, or high trust. And they'll take somebody that's a high trust, middle, or low performer if they can trust you. But
Right.
you go the other way, you can have a high performing asshole, and I don't want any high performing assholes around me. That high trust, I'll accept less performance. But then when you get the Navy SEAL, high performing, high trust, if you're
That's the one.
if you're recruiting, you're hiring, and you run across a high trust, high performer, sign them up.
That's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I got. I got a bunch of those guys.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah. I had a conversation about that today, as a matter of fact, about the band, and I made that comment. I've been blessed. I got a bunch of rock stars around me. We've had some tryouts. People didn't make it. Sorry about your luck, but
It happens.
yeah. But the group I got, take them anywhere in the world, put them up against anybody. So
Yeah, it's a comforting feeling, just being around. If you're the group inside burning, or if you're outside watching that group, all I'm doing is just waiting on my turn. I'm not worried.
Right.
I'm not thinking, I hope they're doing this or that. It's nice, that trust. That
We're worried.
Yep.
We're worried if you're in there.
I get it. Yeah. One time, you burned the roof off of a place. One time.
One time.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Roof burner for life.
One time. Yeah. Cut down trees for 20 years. Everybody calls me a lumberjack.
Burn one roof off of
Yeah. How did Chief Urgo come into your life?
So when I got hired at Charlotte, went through recruit school, and Urgo, so I was in the Valleys in Mecklenburg County as well, and so was Urgo. So he was at Hickory Grove at the time, which doesn't exist anymore. I was at Gilead, which doesn't exist anymore. And Urgo was an engineer at Charlotte, and when I came out of recruit school, I was trying to get to 13. He was driving engine 13 at the time, so on C shift. And so we kind of sort of knew each other from the Valleys up to that point, but then, he was a driver. He made captain. We went up getting stationed together, and he was my captain for a little while. And then we built a relationship that spanned 35, 36 years. And talk about a rock star guy that'll lay in there with you.
Yeah. So he was driving engine 13 when you
Yeah.
first heard about him, or?
No, when I first got hired, he was driving engine 13.
Okay.
And then when I came out of recruit school, he got promoted to captain. And, he was still a hamburglar then. He's still a hamburglar today.
Yeah.
Big mustache and can't understand a word he's saying. But the guy you just don't get a better guy, And I've been to some pretty bad fires with Urgo, and he will lay right there with you. He's that common hand in the storm, and like I said, we built a bond that's 35 plus years. Just you don't get a better guy.
Yeah.
So
my first few interactions, man, a few words,
and when he speaks, you can't understand him. He's robber.
Yeah. I usually just relied on the indication. Like I'd hear the rabble and not know, but he'd lean his head and
give you the little nod.
Like, if he's pointing at pallets, maybe I should just grab a few of those. Yeah. Or that attic access or whatever it was. Yep. One day we got through burning. This was probably 5 burns in to me and Ethan coming around. And we were all meeting at, I think it was Logan's down near Wrightsville. Mm-hmm. And you and BP were typically a little bit later than everybody else. So we pull up, Chief Urgo pulls up, and it's raining just a little bit. We had never had a real conversation with Chief Urgo. Like he was the guy we all knew, but he didn't talk to us, So
Right.
We go stand up in front of the restaurant, and he comes and walks up. Me and Ethan are like, oh, he's gonna say something. He didn't.
No, not a word.
No, but we did end up going ahead and getting a table. And after that experience, then he started talking to us. We felt like we had died and gone to heaven. We made it if he spoke to us,
He's always been a guy, as long as I can remember, that you had to prove yourself to. And once you did that, you were in. But you had to do that. And if you didn't, he's never say anything.
Yeah.
That was his way of shunning you. So
Right.
you were off the list, But
It's a good method to reserve,
oh yeah, and like I said, he's always been that way. But but he's never been nothing but good to me, and so I can't say anything other than he's not been nothing but a stand-up guy for me. And I've been to, I can't tell you how many fires, hundreds, with him over the years.
Yeah.
Live burns and real fires.
Yeah.
So he rode the rescue for 15 years. Tom?
Every bit of it, yep.
Yeah. So he rode Rescue 10 for a long time with a band of renegades. He was trying to manage a 3-ring circus over there, and they were all rock stars too. But how a lot of great firemen are. If they don't have something to do, they're going to do something.
Right.
So yeah, his job had nothing to do with managing them at a call. It was always back at the station because there was, we're taking bets on who can pee the highest on the wall, or when there's something all the time, and he's trying to manage that chaos, hoping that they got a call because then everything would kind of even out. But yeah, just a yeah, just a rock star guy.
How long were you guys on 13? Did he go from 13 to the rescue?
No, he went from 13 to 26 was his first company, and I went from Rescue 10, which was Squad 2 at the time, to 26 as a firefighter, and he was my captain for 6-8 months, maybe a year. I went to 13. He went to the rescue, and so the rescue was at 10. They had just moved it from 12 to 10, and the rescue was at 10, and 13 was next door, so they were side by side. So we went to fires all the time together, and just, you know, like I said, he was always a common hand in the storm, you know, no matter how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I like it when somebody has the opportunity to prove themselves. We don't get many fires, and a lot of people work in departments where you're just not burning every day.
Yep.
right?
So if you're lucky enough to get one, that's your time to do some proving. You can shortcut a whole bunch. You know, you can prove yourself in training and around the firehouse. Even somebody call you up and say, "Hey, can you help me move?" That's an opportunity to build some trust with somebody, you know.
Yep.
But
You're
man,
right.
Friends help you move. Real friends help you move the bodies. Just remember that.
I'll remember that. Yeah. I'm going to write that on the wall around here. So, for anybody listening that doesn't know who Ken Hogue is, who are you right now? Who's Ken Hogue?
What's my position? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Just a battalion chief at Charlotte.
All right.
I've been there a little over 30 years. Turned 30 years last February, so we're 30 and a quarter years, I guess you
Man.
would say.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm an old dude now. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I always kid people. We teach, myself and Sweet Tommy, we teach class together, and I always kid people, you know, I got 30 years in the fire service. Between me and Tommy, we got 130 years experience, you know? And it's always a running joke, you know. But, yeah, I'm just a guy, you know.
You do a lot of
Just a guy.
teaching.
Teach a lot across the state, have for a long time. So had a lot of interaction with a lot of departments. Been blessed to be able to do that. Taught across the country. Been blessed to be able to do that. Still do a lot of that. So, but yeah, I'm just another fireman. It's what I like to be. It's just another fireman. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not you'll never hear me introduce myself in class as a guy with all these accolades. I'm Ken Hogue, you know, and you can figure out the rest.
Right.
I've always kind of been lived by the adage that if you want to know what I did, ask everybody else. You know, they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I think most good firemen are that way.
I had a driver recently. I pulled him in to give him one of those fair conversations. I was like, "Hey, if you'll quit telling everybody how good of a fireman you are, you'll get the reward. If you are good, somebody will come tell you. You know, like you don't. If you tell everybody, you steal that opportunity from yourself to hear it. 'Cause somebody's going to tell you if you're telling everybody else.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's I like that about you. I met you in ag rescue class.
Right.
That's been a long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah, Ethan was with me. We got a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, how about quit doing what you're doing and do what I ask you to do? And we were like, all right.
Was that Leland?
It was in Winnebago.
Yeah. So we were out at the farm that had the tractor that kept spinning. That I told y'all if you did it that way, the tractor was going to spin, and y'all did it that way, and the tractor spun.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I'm sure that you knew exactly what was going to happen. Yeah.
The reason I remember that because that's the one I got the chair and took a chair out and pulled up and sat down.
Correct.
And somebody said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. It's going to happen." And,
Yeah. It was from the chair that we got the hey, come here.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. It was a good class, though.
Well, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
We try to do good work, you know. It's becoming more difficult these days, it seems like, sometimes, you know.
Yep. You've been in the fire service a lot longer than me. when did what's going on now with the mental health stuff, has that existed and just nobody talked about it, or is it newer?
So I talked about that in class today, as a matter
Okay.
of fact. So in 95, when Alfred Murrah building was blown up, the federal building, so there wasn't a tremendous amount. And this becomes generational and time incident driven. So all of these things kind of fall in place. So we discussed today generational. So baby boomers to Gen Xers to, was it Gen Zers? Well, we had Gen Zers and now we're millennials. So this trend of different generations. But they found on the study that 7 to 10 years after the Alfred Murrah building explosion is when they saw a huge ramp up in substance abuse, drug abuse, alcohol, suicide, all these things. So we fast forward 6 years, 9/11 happens. We see the same trend happen over that 7 to 10 year period of time. So is it all generational? No, I don't believe that. Is it? I think it's cumulative what you experience in a career. I think it's where you are. If you're riding a truck that is busy, and when I say busy, we're talking Dave Hibbett engine 10 busy. We're talking
Right.
engine 12 Charlotte busy. We're talking 5,500 plus 6,000 plus calls a year busy. And you're taking that constant pummeling day in, day out. You go to work, 5, 6, 7 times after midnight you're getting up. You get punched in the head every day you go to work. You accumulate that over a career, and anybody will tell you, including Dave, and I don't, anybody that says they're not is a liar. When you hit that 45 to 47 window of time, and some people is a little sooner than that, but it starts to hurt to get up in the morning. 25 years of taking that kick in the head it starts to really punish you, and I think when you couple all of that with a career of no sleep, bad calls, people don't call you on their best days.
Right.
They're not inviting you over for tea and scrumpets.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling you because they're having a bad day, and you've gone through this burnout phase of 3 o'clock in the morning somebody calls you for a headache. Well, was your head hurting at 3 this afternoon? Because I'm really struggling the way you called me at 3 now.
Right.
And you kind of come out the other side of that. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you say, it's not that bad. And you start to, as you get a little older, you start to see the bigger picture, and so you start to come up with things like with my guys, it was always, hey, this guy's got a toothache, so we really need to Three Stooges this guy, so you put 9 rolls of gauze on his head, size of a basketball, the ambulance shows up, their eyes are this big, what in the world happened to that guy? He's got a toothache, but he feels much better now, and you put him in there, knowing he's going to go to the hospital, and they're going to be like, and so, but I think it's cumulative. I think it's a career of being punished. It's a career of compartmentalizing that punishment. You stick it in a box, you shove it down, because you don't want to show any weakness. Because as soon as you do, guys at the firehouse are like lions. They're gonna eat you alive.
Yeah.
And then you take all of that. You've had no sleep for 25 years, because you're sleeping 2-3 hours a night maybe, and then all of a sudden you go to this one call that just caps it all, and you shove it into that box, and you just can't keep it in that box, and 6-8 years from now it just can't stay in the box.
Yeah, the side of the box splits open, or
now you've got whatever your coping mechanism of choice is outside of showing any weakness, whether that's drinking, whether that's drugs, whether that's whatever, you start down that path. And I think all of us have experienced that in some degree or another in that, window of time. Because if you're that rock star firefighter, if you're that person who is, if you're playing ball for the love of the game, if you're going to work for the love of the job, that's what you want to do. I knew at 14 years old, that's what I want to do. You know, find something you love to do. You never work a day in your life. That's what I love to do.
Right.
And if you're going to work for the love of the job, and that's what you enjoy, you're going to want to be on that busy company. You're going to want to be in the middle of it. You're going to be riding that rescue. You know, you want to be at the big call. And you take 25 years of that punishment, 27 years of that punishment, and then you throw something of that magnitude on top of it. It just can't stay in the box, you know, because you got 25 years of stuff in the box.
Right.
And what do you do with it? So
Yeah.
sooner or later, it's coming out of the box. And how you address it when it comes out of the box is where we're going to wind up.
Yeah.
I don't think that firefighters today, I don't take anything away from their talents. I take away from their upbringing. And when I say their upbringing, it wasn't that their parents were bad parents. They did grow up in a bad way. But you didn't have participation trophies when we grew up. You know, the world was a cruel, tough place. It still is. But they had participation trophies. And now they're in the world, and they're taking that punishment. They're taking that, you know, they're taking that box, and they're filling it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens?
Yeah. Let me ask you about on the front end,
Mm-hmm.
we can't change the career a lot. You know, that we can trim some of the response protocols and maybe cut down on the things we respond to at night, you know, and that's hypothetical. But on the front end, we can't change the fire service. Either you come in to work or you pick another career, right? But down the line, when you're stuffing the stuff in the box, do you have any thoughts? Can we spitball a few ideas of that coping mechanism? Like, how can we teach the coping side? Have you thought about that side of it?
So the discussion today that I had was, first off, we need to be upfront with people.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see the big picture. So people are today, 30 years ago, guys were company driven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had company pride, you had department pride. You did what you had to do for the company, right? Now, family took a back seat a lot of times because of that. Not always a good idea, but it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had that pride. You know, you had that, you were driven. But people don't understand that as a fire chief, they don't understand what the fire chief's looking at when the city manager says, I need you to cut 10%. And to kind of, and this is a long way around to answer your question.
I'm with you.
But I think once I go down this path, you're going to understand what I'm telling you. As a chief officer, when you're looking at, hey, we got to cut the budget. Hey, we've got to do these things. This is what council and everybody else says. The guys on the company don't understand just wholeheartedly that the fire service collectively usually has a 95, 96% customer satisfaction rate. The community loves you, you know. So at 3 a.m. when you run that call and you're all pissed off because you got to be there at 3 a.m. and you go in there and you be professional, because them same people in the ghetto, they hate the cops
Mm-hmm.
with a passion, but they love the firemen. And when you go in there at 3 a.m. on that headache call and you don't want to be there, and you know it is total bullshit, but you're there,
Yeah.
you know, and you go in there and you be professional, what that gets you in the end is so much greater. The greater good, when you can go in there and be professional, have fun, make a few jokes, get everybody kind of loosened up a little bit, get them in an ambulance, send them to the hospital, cuss all the way back to the station if you want to.
Right. Instead of people pushing the stuff into the box, what else can we do?
So one thing that I brought up today, and I want to kind of capitalize on something that Tom said.
Mm-hmm.
Officers today, because I get a lot of calls from young officers and young chiefs, and they ask me a lot of questions. So I reiterated in class today, I reiterate for all those guys also. What is your greatest asset? What's your greatest resource? own the company. What's always your greatest asset?
Your people.
And it's your people. So I think part of the problem today is we don't know the people that we work with every day like we did 30 years ago. 30 years ago we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers in the stations, we didn't have all the stuff. So your focus was on the people that you worked with. And if you look at a fire company today, if you go into a firehouse, there's 4 guys assigned to a company, and all 4 of them are in 4 different corners on the phone, their Facebook and their Instagram and their whatever they're doing. The first question you should always ask, it doesn't matter if you're on a bad call, if you're on a good call, if you're on whatever it is, the first question you always ask is, are you okay? How are you? And you have to genuinely care about your people. And it doesn't matter if it's a bad call, if it's a death in the family, if it's bad home life, whatever it is. You got to recognize that, and you got to ask, are you okay? If you're in trouble, you got a DWI. You're coming to the chief's office. First thing the chief should ask you, are you okay?
Yeah.
You're our greatest asset. We lost that somewhere. I don't know where we lost it,
Mm-hmm.
but somewhere we lost the genuine concern for our people. Are you okay? And I think that has contributed a lot to the uptick in the suicide stuff. So that offers me some concern of where the fire service is heading in the future,
Yeah. Huh. I feel like somehow that's tied into the trust performance. I can't really nail it down yet, but it feels tied to it. Like maybe in the hiring process, about the same time.
It's not trust or performance. It's just being a human being.
Yeah.
As the chief, if you walk in a firehouse, you come in the door with, how's my guys? How's
Mm-hmm.
the companies? How is everybody doing? I had a guy that lost a brother the other day at a company, and I called him at home, and I'm like, hey, man, are you good? Are you okay? What can I do for you?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't call him because I was his chief. I called him because I was his friend.
Right.
And I cared about him, And the guy started making excuses. He's like, man, chief, I'm sorry I didn't come to work today. I sicked out. I'm only about 50%. And I said, it's okay, man. You're probably 25% better than some of them goons over there you work with. And he
Right.
started laughing.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes later, he's like, God, I needed that. And I'm like, hey, man, are you okay?
Yeah.
I don't care that you didn't come to work. Are you okay? Are you
Yeah.
good? Do you need anything? Do I need to come there? Can I bring you something? Can I buy you lunch? It's humanity, man. It's a genuine concern for you folks. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Let's get past that. You're my greatest resource. Let's fix that.
Yeah. If Hoffman was in here, and he's supposed to be, he would jump in on that big time. He's been preaching that, look out for your crew. And your specific occurrence is bigger. We're not chiefs, but
That don't matter.
But yeah, that are you okay conversation with the people around you, it's valuable and important. Like he's saying, either coffee table or that phone call, but that connection.
The tough balance a lot of times is you have a persona. I don't care who you are. You have a persona. You have a legacy. You have
Mm-hmm.
a whatever. So you have a reputation. And if you're that guy and people are intimidated, they don't want to call you. They don't want to talk to you. There's, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're a person,
Right.
And in my case, I'm an old school person who, I learned from guys like Tommy who were riding horses and shit. So, and it was hard, them guys didn't care. You think they didn't care,
Right.
Put your feelings in your pocket. At the end of the day, those guys loved you and they cared and they would do anything in the world for you. You still got to have that persona. You got to have that. If I need to be the chief, I can be the chief all day. But I care.
Right.
I love you. I'm gonna take care of you. So you got to have it. That's a tough balance to have sometimes. To have the, you don't have to beat a dog to make him do what you want to do, but he has to know you will.
Right.
And also have that side.
The squishy side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a balance. It's a tough balance sometimes to get the guys to understand that, hey, you know, the big grumpy hard ass chief ain't, you know, he's got my back. You know, he's there for me if I need him.
Yeah.
And
It sounds like a real thin line.
it's a very thin line.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, when you pick up the phone and you call them and you say, hey man, are you good? That tends to break some of that down. You know.
Yeah.
So, I don't care what your position is or what your rank is. You know, the difference between somebody committing suicide and somebody not committing suicide is some guy on the company going, hey man, are you okay? You know, and it's a big deal today.
Yeah.
So, and we don't do that enough.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that that real thin line can be made thicker just by building relationships, and the more times that you call and do the are you okay, or just come by the firehouse for a meal, or
You know how firemen are. They embellish anyway, man. So, you know, I mean, I made a comment earlier, you want to know what I did, ask somebody else, they'll tell you.
right.
You know, well, that every time they tell that story, it gets a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Fishing stories.
Yeah, so there, yeah. So you're walking on water, and you know, you got your Superman cape on, and you know, so yeah. I mean, a young kid coming on, he's intimidated by that, and especially now because nobody stays 30 years in the fire service anymore. You know, everybody like Charlotte, they hit 25. Man, you don't even see them. Like they just like I mean, we had a guy that I grew up with. He was at the airport. Like he retired. Didn't tell anybody. Was on his Kelly day the next day. So that night at 6 o'clock, he was supposed to come to work. At 6 o'clock, he wasn't there. So they called him. Like, hey man, you coming to work? He's like, nah, dude, I'm retired.
Yep.
my shit's in my locker. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah. No fanfare at all.
Yeah, I mean, like he's out. You know, and we're seeing more of that.
Yep.
You know, you don't have the. When Tom and I were there, and God knows I wasn't there when Tom was there, but when we were there, I mean, you would have guys that stayed 35, 40 years. You know, I asked the captain one time, Big O, at Station 1. I'm like, he's a 42-year guy. I'm like, Big O, why are you still here? You know. Guess what his response was? It's awesome. The guy looks at me, serious heart attack. He goes, man, I don't have any hobbies. I don't fish. I don't play golf. I don't like my wife.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. It's a fact.
Yeah. So I just come to work. I'm like, I like where your head's at, baby.
Yeah.
Keep coming as long as you can, buddy. So, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's so you don't really have the older guys anymore to kind of set the pace for that and show that side and say, hey man, are you okay? You know, we're here for you.
Yeah. There's something that's going on in my generation that if I do that, if I call and ask, or if I show what my generation perceives as a weakness, or I don't know why, I don't know how the negative connotation got put on it, but I wish that would become cool again. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know what my generation is trying to.
Here's the problem with mine and Tom's generation is that we'll ask you, are you okay? But when you tell us you're not okay, that's when the wheels come off. Because that's when we say, yeah, okay, we're here for you, buddy. What's going on? And then you start telling us, and we're like, suck it up, Buttercup. It's like, you know, this can't be a crutch, you know, and that's not the right response, obviously. But you know, there's got to be. I think there's some correlation to the generations today and the technology and the Facebook, and you know, we got in a conversation also about Facebook. You know, it's an algorithm. They're gonna shape it to what your likes and dislikes are.
Yeah.
So they're gonna force you to a team, whether you want to be on a team or not. You know, so it gets real difficult to fight that and battle that line, and you know, and not box yourself into something. So. You know, but at the end of the day, you got to be a human being, you know.
You were saying that you think it's always been here.
It's always been here. It's generational of the boomers didn't talk about it.
Right.
I mean, you ask old stories like my grandparents' age, and they didn't tell you anything. You're like, well, where did we come from? Like, they wouldn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Tom was there.
But they kept all their stories locked up. We don't know their history.
Yeah.
Now, each generation, I think we've gotten more open about telling our stories, right? Gen Xers, it's the big joke, right? That we were the lock and key, the latchkey kids. So
Yeah.
we can sit around, we can play video games. We got this. We're good, right?
Yeah.
We used to talk to each other because we didn't have a parent around to talk to. It wasn't my case at home, but a lot of kids are like that.
Sure.
So we all talk to each other. I think your generation, you were the beginning of this technological age of Facebook, Instagram, seeing this beautiful world on pictures of everybody doing things perfectly all the time. They don't do anything wrong, and they do it right out the gate. It doesn't show the thousands of hours that they've practiced it.
Right.
So if you don't got this, there's something wrong with you. Instead of, guess what? People have to practice. Yeah, there's the few people who are huge and can just go out there and do anything.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can do it perfectly, even
Yeah.
if it's not perfect, because they can just make it look perfect. Okay.
Right.
You know, when I'm a little bit smaller, it's going to take me more practice. I have to practice to do things. Well, you have to practice. You have to ask for help. You have to be able to go out there and be, hey, no, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to try and do my best. So I'm going to do this again until I get it. And I think if we do that more and it becomes okay of like, hey, let's just go practice. And then it's no big deal because you're not perfect. So then and when that next thing comes of like, we're great. Hey, you break your arm. We can wrap you up. We'll get you to the hospital. No problem. You're broken internally because you saw something that you can't function with. I don't have a Band-Aid for that. I don't know what you're going to do with that.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about it because the more you talk about it, you can let that stuff out. You can't hold on to it. Like Tom was saying, there's calls that he remembers. I remember calls from the beginning of my career 30 years ago. Those are the calls that I remember vividly. I couldn't tell you what I did last week. I have to truly think about it because I go to the call, I take care of the incident, we do good customer service, and I let it go.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me, it's not your emergency. We're going to help the best we can, but you didn't cause the emergency, so let it go. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's not mine. I have enough crap of my own I need to hold on to.
Yeah.
I can let this go.
So, armed with that information that you just shared, perhaps that learning that ability to do the run, go on the medical call, do whatever, process whatever information. If it's real bad, have that conversation, but otherwise don't hang on to it. Take the Woody Harrelson method and, I just forget about that.
Yeah.
Yep. Hot
Yeah.
lasagna.
And if you can't, then you talk about it. But I mean, with, my group, we talk. We talk at the table. We make a point of having coffee and sitting down and chit-chatting and making sure that the phones are down. And let's go, hey, checking in the morning. How are you? Anybody got anything they need to do? What's going on? Let me know.
Yeah. In my particular department, the morning coffee time came under fire for a little while. It's starting to change a little bit, but for a while that was frowned upon, and it's
Why?
a valuable thing.
Oh, it absolutely
It's
valuable thing.
necessary.
Yeah.
Why?
So
Tell me why.
the direction of the chief in charge of us was not allowed. So come in and go to work, like get the proper uniform on, go get the trucks going. If you were found to be doing an extended pass on, it was somebody was going to have to answer for that through documentation or through a meeting or whatever. So yeah, that was actually part of my promotional process was what would you do if you came in through the kitchen and your driver and your firefighter are sitting down having coffee and doing a pass on.
Join them.
That's actually what I said.
Good.
So,
Some of the greatest memories I have is in the morning between the shift change, is sitting there having a coffee and talking to the shift coming on, or shift going off, or you coming in. It was great. I had 2 or 3 guys that, in the morning, I always got early and they get up early, and we sit in the morning, sit around, drink coffee. And that's some of the best memories I have at the firehouse, sitting around there drinking coffee in the morning during the shift change.
yeah, I think the difference is you grew up through the fire department. So how long were you riding on a fire truck just fighting fire and not in charge of it?
I got to my company at the end of 95, so
So if you met him in 84 and he was fighting fire.
84. And I like Ken, I started when I was 13-year-old, which was back in the late 60s then. But,
Yeah.
I was 13 years old. My grandfather took me to the firehouse. And, the fire department, it gets in your blood, and that's just, it's there.
my point was that deputy chief didn't have much time riding an actual fire truck. So, you know what I mean? So that it didn't make sense to him how valuable. I think the more focus we'll put on mental health, the more we'll realize that.
Yeah, that's not coffee. Coffee's the excuse.
That's
but
right.
It's not coffee.
Yeah, yeah. It's a session.
It's a meeting. It's
Yeah.
a morning meeting of exchange and feeling out how people are, where your equipment's at, where your people are at, and it just happens to be over coffee, which.
Yeah, many times I've done a pass on that's extended. That's plenty of time.
yeah.
And I'll get in the car and drive away and remember one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then
Yep.
I'm calling back.
Yep.
So having a good, healthy conversation in the morning. Help me with the edit. Give me the department that you work at and how long you've been in the fire service. Give me your spiel.
Okay, I'm Kacy Cardinale. I work for San Francisco Fire Department. I am in my 31st year. I got in the fire department. I took the test right after I graduated from high school. Was the first year that they let women in the San Francisco Fire Department.
Nice.
My dad's a firefighter in San Francisco, retired, and so he dragged me down and signed me up. And
Yeah.
I looked at him and I'm like, "Are you sure I can do this?" And he goes, "Yeah, you can." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got in, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So you kind of got voluntold to go sign up.
I did.
Yeah, her dad was a division chief. Don't let her tell you.
He retired as a division chief. He was a fireman when he signed me up.
Yeah.
So, and there were a lot of guys at that time that thought he was crazy. They couldn't believe that he wanted his daughter in the fire department. So we were the first father-daughter in San Francisco, and then we actually worked together the longest. So 17 years in the same department together.
That's awesome.
And then, yes, I did drive him for 2 years when he was a division chief.
Yeah. That's fun. I enjoy that I get to work with my dad, and it's not fire department related.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how fun it would be.
I had an absolute blast. I loved work. My dad and I get along really, really well, so it was fun. And then working as an operator for him when he was a chief was super easy for me because we already have that natural hierarchy.
Sure.
And when he had his nonverbal cues, I knew what he was talking about.
Right.
So it made it really easy, and it was fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you understood the grunts where
Correct.
nobody else would
yeah,
have.
or just this and
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
got this.
More words.
Yes.
More words.
I didn't grow up with you. I need more words. Yes. So,
That's funny.
yeah.
Nice.
But I will say, back to the morning meeting stuff
Mhm.
and with the coffee, is that I think if you can incorporate that back into the most firehouses, that's going to help. It's not going to solve it, but it's going to help with the mental health and the suicides because you're going to have that range of where your people are at, and you're going to know when somebody's off. And if you can't talk to them, then hopefully you know the other people who do know them very well, so that you can give them a call. Go, hey, can you please check in on so and so? Something's going on. I don't know what it is. Because you can just that's what we do for a living. We help people.
Right.
So we're not good at asking it for ourselves, but we can see when our other people are hurting, and we need to make a point of you know what? Why do we help everybody else and not ourselves? It's let's help each other out.
Yeah.
So and that morning meeting is a huge, huge place for it, I think.
Yeah, they're high value for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So you asked what's wrong in the fire service today. Normalization of deviance is a huge issue in the fire service today. Huge, and it's a cultural shift. It's not a firehouse alone shift,
Right.
but I should start a campaign, stamp out normalization of deviance. But, so I was in the firehouse, I'll tell you a story. I was in the firehouse about a month ago, and we're having coffee in the morning. They misspelled cancellation on the TV. And I was like, hey, they misspelled cancellation. No, it's not misspelled. Cancellation has 2 L's. No, you can spell it either way now. No, you can't. No, you can't spell it. You can't spell canceled or cancellation without 2 L's. It just doesn't happen. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are on the planet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Just because enough people misspell it doesn't make it right.
Yeah. And that's true.
That's what's happened in the firehouse. That's what's happening in the fire service collectively.
Mm-hmm.
We tolerate. You do it wrong long enough, it makes it right. That's wrong on a bunch of levels. We have to fix that.
Yeah.
If it's wrong, say it's wrong. The fire service is an institution. And to be successful in the fire service, you have to respect the institution.
All right, I'm listening.
You tracking?
Mm-hmm.
So the institution, we spell counseled correctly
Mm-hmm.
with 2 L's. We spell cancellation with 2 L's. We watch Andy Griffith, I before E except after C. All right, that episode.
Yeah.
That's the institution. There's a hierarchy in the institution. So we have to do a better job of promoting the institution. That's where we have failed miserably, is we're not promoting the institution. And
I'm following.
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Your roll call or your morning meeting or your pass on, whatever you choose to call it. But the time that you spend together drinking coffee, that's the institution. Don't change the institution. You know, there are historical things that we should let go. There are historical things we should hold on to. There are traditions that we need to keep. The institution is a tradition. Keep the institution. If you want your fire department, if your firehouse to be successful, keep the institution.
Makes sense to me.
You have to know when you start that you're lower than a snake's ass in a wagon rut. That's where you're at in the pecking order. And somebody needs to tell you that. And you earn respect and you earn your way. And it'll come. You know, it'll come in time. But you don't start at the top. We don't hold hands, sing kumbaya. And so a lot of kids ask me today about that, and I tell them all the same thing. You have to treat firemen like your kids. You know, you got to love them. You got to take care of them. You got to be their friend, but you got to know you be their dad first. And you know, if they understand that, then you won't have any problems. If you try to be their friend and they don't understand that you're going to be their dad first, then you're going to have issues.
That's when the feelings will get talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why you have the morning meeting and you can set out your expectations.
Yeah. I'm liking this morning meeting thing.
Yep.
To your point of this has always been around, do you think the old school method of having the morning meetings and addressing things, that time disappearing might be a small percentage of what we're dealing with today?
I don't know. In my department, we still have morning meetings, so it's not that. I think, you know, we've always had. I think because of the fact that we didn't talk about things as well as we should, there's always been the raging alcoholics and drug addicts who are kick-ass firefighters. I mean, absolutely.
And you go through, I think anybody that, especially guys at busy stations, go through a spell of life where you're, the only time you feel normal is when you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere else in your life, you're a fish out of water. But you can come to work and feel normal. Like everything's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I've had that period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so you want to come to work, so you feel okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to get off because it's going to be bad.
Right.
You gotta
You
go
know.
home and deal with life.
Yeah, and that's where the coping mechanisms come in. That's where the drinking starts and all the stuff, you know. So I think anybody, especially folks that are busy, go through that period of life where you're only normal at work. That's the only place you feel comfortable. So you wind up trying to box those demons. You know, you try to put that Tasmanian devil in the box, and you know, and eventually he's gonna get loose. You know.
Yeah.
And it's tough when he does, because it train wrecks everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. And he's probably more angry because he's been trapped in that box for so long.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
So, but to flip that card over, you have to, as a company officer, in your case, as a company officer, you got to create that environment where it's okay to say, I'm not okay, you know? And a guy that can get punished for it. I mean, you know, the fireman adage, find a crack, drive a wedge, you know? If they find a weakness, man, they're coming. You got to create that environment where they may not say it in an open session, right?
Right.
They might not say it at the coffee table, but when it's just you and them, you got to build that. You got to build a relationship with your folks where you can say, "Hey, man, come talk to me. What's going on? And they got to be able to do that. It may not be at the firehouse, you know. It might be over beers. It might be in the bar. It might be on the tailgate. It might be wherever. But you got to build that relationship with your folks. You know, they got to know it's okay, and they got to know that you're willing to put the captain's bars down for a little while, or the chief's bars down for a little while, and say,
Let's talk.
yeah, I'm that guy. We can do that. You don't have to be here.
Is there, make sure you carry this forward. Have you got that in your mind? Like
So I'll say a couple things of that.
okay.
So we had a thing in Charlotte for a long time because we did all the specialties: water, swift water, trench, confined space, structural collapse, blah blah blah. And when a guy got ready to retire that was an instructor, he picked the guy that took his place, and we would bring that guy in, and he would teach with us for a few classes before that guy retired, so that the level of continuity stayed the same throughout the course, regardless of who was there. Didn't matter what the name was, you know.
Right.
Replace the body. The level of continuity stayed the same throughout. The other thing is when we teach classes, and we've always done this, there's nothing off limits and there's nothing to hide. So it's not a situation where I taught you everything you know, I didn't teach you everything I know. It's not that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It is, hey, you know, I made the statement, I kind of gave a precursor today before class started. Hey, the table's open. Whether it's swift water related, whether it's structural collapse related, whether it's certification related, if you're having marital trouble, I don't care.
Yeah.
The table's open. If you put it on the table, I'll tell you what I know.
Right.
And we've always had that mentality. We're not hoarders of information. We'll tell you what we know. If you ask us, we're going to tell you what we know. So we've always kind of had that mentality. We're sharing anything we got with you. You know, we're not trying to hide it from anybody. We don't want credit for it. We're not asking for that.
Yeah.
But I also made the comment, I told you at dinner, don't put your feelings on your shirt sleeves, because if I hurt them, I really don't care.
Yeah.
That's not the, you know, it's not about hurting your feelings or not hurting your feelings. It's about 2 years from now when you make that rescue and you say, you know, that old asshole was in the front telling me all this stuff and he broke my feelings, but all of a sudden now, 2 years down the road, I see why.
Yeah.
That's where we are. In a career, that's where we are. You know, I'll tell you anything I got. All you got to do is ask me. You open the door, I'll give you anything I got to give you. You know? And so, because that's how you pass it forward. You know, that's how you pass it on. That's how you honor the old timers that passed it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is you pass it to the kids that are coming. And a lot of the kids today don't want it. You know, that's something that we're finding too. They just don't want it. If you want it, we'll give it to you. We'll give you whatever we got, including the shirts off our back. You can have it. You know?
Right.
You know, I made a comment the other day, and I never thought I would make this comment, but I did, and I'll stand by it. I still enjoy going to fires. Still love going to fires. I like, you know, I love the job.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I love the job. If I never went to another fire, I'm okay with that. You know, if I get 7 tomorrow, I'm okay with that too.
Right.
But if I don't get another one, then, you know, I'm in a place where I'm comfortable not having to prove anything anymore. You know?
I don't know. I appreciate it. Like, I understand. I think I get it. I'm not there yet.
You shouldn't be
Yeah.
where you are. You shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like what we started with. I'm not going to tell you, I don't need to tell you what I've done. If you want to know, ask everybody else. They'll tell you, you know. So I'm not an accolade guy. That's not me. It never has been me. So, but if you want to know, if you ask me, I'll tell you, you know.
Yeah. There's beauty in that.
Yeah, and your goes the same way. You keep talking about You know, his birth certificate says Chief Yurgo. So middle initials D.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ask him, he'll tell you. And he has a lot to bring. He's a 40-plus year guy. He's got a lot to bring to the table. And he'll tell you if you ask him.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to ask him. He's not going to volunteer it, you know.
Yeah, like Hibben.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's two wizards right there to work between, you know. And I'm blessed to have those guys in my life. I mean, they're, you know, anybody would be honored to call them friend, and I can call them both friend.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I can call Dave best friend, you know. And, you know, to me, he's Dave.
Yeah.
But that dude is unbelievable wealth of knowledge, you know. Yurgo's the same way. He's got a treasure chest. All you got to do is open it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Let's get those two guys in here,
Oh, yeah.
like together.
Yeah, I'll pummel them too. I don't care. Doesn't matter, man. Yeah, they're almost as old as Tom.
Yeah,
Almost.
Almost. Yeah. Together, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, if we added them together, they're as old as Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's picking on you already.
yeah.
Oh, it's a never-ending battle, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, Tom didn't tell you about his tough. He had a little tough time between the fire service and WW2. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
right. Yeah. Hard times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough.
Yeah,
it
that
was
Great
tough.
Depression, it was hard on all of us.
Yeah, it was.
Your comments remind me, Hoffman and I have talked about, it was short-lived, but we witnessed this thing in our area. It was not widespread, but it was among a few, and it was this mindset of, I want to see you do well, just not better than me.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all kind of had those interactions. I'm happy to say that that's faded away. I don't see it as much now as I used to. Maybe I know which direction to look, so it might still be there, and I'm just not looking in that direction. But I like hearing your method. The table's open. I'll give you all the information that's in my head. You just got to ask the right questions.
I'll give you all I got.
Absolutely.
You don't have to ask the right questions.
Right.
Just ask some questions.
Yeah.
I'll give you whatever's up there rolling
Start
around.
the conversation. Yeah.
You know, we had a conversation about proactive today, and what is proactive? You know, because the fire service collectively is reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been. So, what constitutes proactive? And you know, I told the class, I said, you know, if you understand how firefighters think and how they respond and what drives them, proactive is so very simple, but we make it so difficult. I said, you know, you can just as easy be sucked into the couch watching TV. I said, but you can get up and go out there and pull a throw bag off the truck and start throwing the throw bag. And I said, give it 10 minutes, maybe 15 tops. What's going to happen?
Everybody will be out there throwing the bag.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I said, as soon as you make it a competition, now we're throwing throw bags for 2 or 3 hours. And you're doing it because they want to, because they don't want to lose. I told them, I said, I made engineer at Charlotte on a bet. It had nothing to do with making engineer. It was solely from the stance of me and Bob Tuttle had a bet, because Bob came to me one day and he said, I think I can score better than you on the engineer's test. And I told Bob, I said, you're a moron. You couldn't outscore me on your deathbed.
Yeah.
So we took the test. We tied for last place. It was by seniority. And they had to take 50 people plus ties. We were tied for last place. We were 56th going in of the test. 12 people passed. Me and Bob got promoted on the first list. We were a quarter point apart. But that competition is what drives people.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, just you going out there and just throwing the bag. Just throw the bag, man. Throw the bag for 10 minutes. Tie some knots. You know, I'm like, just do something. Stretch a hose line. I said, because all it takes is one person to walk outside and go, what are you doing? And I said, you're going to train the whole company.
Yep.
And they have no idea why they did it, but you're not beating them.
Yeah.
And I said, use that to your advantage, man. You know, we took the job because it was fun. You know, you'll ask people that, why'd you take this job in the fire service? And you hear this same bullshit everywhere you go. I want to help people. Well, that's bullshit. You don't want to help people. If hanging sheetrock was fun, we'd all be hanging sheetrock. You know?
Yeah.
It's not the case. You took the job because it's fun. And while you're having fun, you get to help some people, you know? And training can be fun. Everything can be fun. Make it fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
If you watch people play professional sports, football, baseball, basketball, doesn't matter, hockey, whatever. The folks that play for the love of the game, they play baseball because they love baseball. Those are the most talented, wonderful people you ever watched. If you come to the job every day because you love the job, it's the most rewarding experience in the world. There's nothing like it. Why can't training and the job and everything be that way?
Yeah. Great question.
That's one thing about the fire service, you know, and people don't understand is every day you come to work, I love coming to work in the morning because you never know what's going to happen today. Nothing's ever the same. So when you come to work, you might not do nothing all day, or you might have working fires or being on the rescue. So every day was a different experience. So I love that, you know. When I get up in the morning to go to work, okay, what's going to happen today? You know, I can't wait to get in there to find out what the day's going to be like. You know, and then like I say, then in the mornings, you know, we change our ideas and stuff, and every day I come back to work is like, okay, what's going to happen today? Everything's going, you know, nothing's ever the same. So that's what excited me was, you know, when I come into work, I love coming to work and get in there early, and because every day was a new venture for you. You just never knew what was going to happen. Where if you work in an office or you work in a machinery shop, every day you come in, you do this, and this. When we come into work, you get up there at 8:01, you never know, you might be the biggest fire you ever seen. I mean, it's just, that's what excited me, kept me going was, you know, I just love coming in and having that challenge of what's going to be today, what's going to happen, you know. So that was one of the things I really enjoyed about the fire service.
Nice.
Shirlene Kimball. That's why I came to work every day. Shirlene Kimball. 1735 West Trade Street. Picked her up every day. Never forget. 1735 West Trade. Picked up Shirlene Kimball. I asked her one day. I said, Shirlene, payphone was there, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So every day, pulled up. Shirlene, are you taking any medications? Yes, I am. And I said, okay. Shirlene, what you on? And she said, serious as a heart attack. Look at me right now. Taking seizure medicine. You know the name of it? So I'm thinking, you know, Dilantin, something. Peanut butter ball. True story. Peanut butter ball. Me right now. Peanut butter ball. Are you trying to say phenobarbital? Yeah. That's it.
Peanut butter ball.
Yes, phenobarbital. Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things you remember. You know, carbon monoxide. I got the poison peroxide. Yeah. Yes. Man, if you had congestive heart failure, oh honey, I've had that 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know there was a cure for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
6 or 7 times.
Yeah, I had a defibrillator. I just got a defibrillator. Yours is
Yeah.
way better than mine. I mean, you know, those are the things you remember when you look back and you think about a career and all the stuff you did, you know.
Yeah, every day was a new venture.
Yeah, and
You just never knew.
Awesome. You know, I can never forget people walking up and going, hey, man, what's going on? Shark attack. You know, I mean, it's always something, you know, and there was a new and improved way to make it a great day, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some of the most fun in my life epoxying quarters to the sidewalk, watching the winos trying to dig them up. You know, it was, you know, but it was, you can make the job a great job, and it's still a great job.
I'm doing that at the firehouse soon. Epoxying the quarter down.
Absolutely. It's great.
Yep.
Great entertainment.
We came up with this automatic dispatch system. So they put a reflector on the floor and a laser beam on the ceiling. And when the truck was not there, it checked it en route. The only problem was they came out and installed the system and they told no one. So
Nice.
Jamie Beasley, day one, he pulls the truck out to check it off. He comes back in and he looks down. And he sees this reflector on the floor. So he goes and gets a bar, pow, 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 and takes it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the dumbass put this here?
Yeah.
Exactly. Typical fireman.
They never put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
My
we
goodness.
took a pocketbook one time, and we had somebody had found a snake and killed it and froze it in their freezer, coiled up, and we put it in the pocketbook so that when you opened the pocketbook, it would spring into action, and threw it on the sidewalk, and then closed the bay doors and looked outside
Yeah.
and waited. That guy that picked up that pocketbook is probably still running to this
Yeah.
day when he opened it up.
He was the first medical call that morning.
That's a good time.
Yeah, it's great. I'll tell you a story about Dave Hibben. So you were talking about Dave earlier. So Dave's been on the show. Phenomenal guy. So Dave would call me a lot of days when he was coming home from work because it was, he'd been up 24 hours at least. And he was trying to drive home, slept an hour or 2 hours maybe at the most. And so he would call me. And one morning he called me going to work. And it was about 6 a.m. or so, 5:30. And I'm driving to work. He's getting off work or changing shifts. And they change shifts pretty early up there. They're 3:30 or so in the morning to try to beat the traffic type thing.
Damn.
And yeah, so Dave would he would go up early and swap shifts because 95 traffic's horrendous in DC. And so we would talk a lot in the morning time, either him coming home, me trying to keep him awake to get him home, or he would be up there working 2 or 3 shifts in a row type thing. And he calls me one morning. I'm talking to him on the phone. It's about 6 a.m. And he tells me, hold on a minute. The dumpster guy's beating on the bay door. So there's guys beating. You can hear the guy hitting the bay door outside the station. And he puts the phone down. I can hear him in the background. He opens the bay door. And the guy's like, man, what the hell? And the guy's like, dude, the dumpster is moaning. And I'm like, and I can hear all this going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is bad when your dumpster's moaning, So they had shot a guy down the street and thrown him in the firehouse dumpster to get rid of him, figuring the dumpster people would come pick it up, not think anything about it. Well, they didn't kill him. So the dumpster guy picks the dumpster up, dumps him in the truck. And the guy's moaning in the background. And I can hear Dave in the background with me still on the phone telling the dumpster guy, don't dump it in front of the station. So couldn't find out the guy made it. He lived, but he'd been shot and thrown in the firehouse dumpster and put in the truck. And the dumpster guy lost his mind because it was the truck was moaning at him, And
He's lucky they didn't hit compress or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's what started it. Was they dumped him and the guy started to compress it. Here's this guy screaming in the truck, and he stops. He's like, "Hey, there's a dude screaming in the truck."
Yeah.
So,
Mercy. Well, I sure appreciate you guys coming on the show.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Any final parting words from you over there?
No, I don't think so.
No?
It's good to be here, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's an honor to be here with
It
you,
is absolute honor.
a man of your caliber. It means a lot.
Flip it around, and that's an accurate statement.
No.
Yeah.
No. I fought fire with you. I've stood beside you. That's an accurate statement.
Well, I appreciate you.
As I said it.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like we should talk 2 more hours? I don't understand.
It's something about this room.
Is that
Feels
what it
right.
is?
Yeah.
So, but I'm in the presence of greatness, obviously.
Tommy?
Sweet Tommy. It's not just
Sweet
Tommy.
Tommy. Sweet Tommy.
He passed Tommy a long time ago. He's Sweet Tommy now.
Yeah, this stuff I put up with every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'll tell you pretty quick if it ain't easy.
136 years in the fire service.
136 years in the fire service. I put up with that guy for a long time, and there's he's your go status. There's none like him. I love him. Do
Nice.
anything in the world for him.
Oh yeah, Ken's my brother. I mean, I love him to death. We've done a lot of stuff together, and he got my back, I got his back, and if I have something going on, I know I can make a phone call and got someone there to talk to. So
Yeah.
Dave Hibben, another one.
Mm-hmm.
yep,
If you're in jail, Brazil, 3 in the morning. Got
He's
that
your
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah. Whatever the phone tells him is the drive time, that's how long it's going to take. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm on the way.
Yeah. He's a rock star, man. So, you know, and I've been blessed in a career to be accompanied with those guys. You know, it's not me, it's them guys, and you can't ask for any better. You can't ask for a better career. Can't ask for better friends. They're just great people. So, you know, how could you ask anything else? You know, if you died today, could you have done any better? And I don't know that I could.
Yep.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It is.
We love you. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is a good thing.
I'll stand anywhere with you, anywhere you want to go.
Appreciate you. That means a lot.
Gotcha. I'll come back anytime, anywhere. You tell me when.